Ever get that feeling that maybe there are unseen forces shaping our lives, pulling strings we can't quite see? What if those strings were actually woven into society itself?
That's a fascinating way to put it.
Well, on today's Deep Dive, we're going to try and untangle some of those threads. We're looking at excerpts from Anil Chandra Thakur's novel, The Puppets. It's a really powerful story, and it was brought to us by one of our listeners.
Right, and it's set deep in rural India. The dedication itself says it's for the downtrodden mass, which, immediately sets a certain tone.
Definitely.
So our aim here is to pull out the most resonant and thought-provoking ideas from these passages for you, our listener. We want to understand those subtle ways, power, circumstance, how they shape people's lives.
Exactly. And guiding us through this, intricate story, we have our expert here who's just brilliant at synthesizing these complex narratives and showing us the bigger picture, the societal patterns underneath.
Well, I'll do my best. It's a rich text.
Okay, so let's pull back that curtain. Let's start our deep dive. Where do we begin?
I think the first thing that really jumps out is that initial meeting. It's between Soma, her mother, and this figure, Hakim Saheb, right by the Mahananda River.
Okay.
And you notice Soma's smile. It's described as so natural, completely unburdened. But that contrasts so sharply with her mother, who almost immediately asks Hakim Saheb to stay longer.
Right, and that simple request, it's followed really quickly by her mentioning their poverty, comparing it directly to Hakim Saheb's, respected position in the village.
Exactly. You immediately feel that gap, the economic, the social distance between them.
Yeah. And then there's that detail about the other villagers, how they seem to actively make excuses to avoid him.
Yes. That's very telling. It really shows you how deep that social hierarchy goes in this rural setting. I mean, even a simple chat is instantly colored by who has the power, who's seen as more privileged.
So the villagers trying to avoid him, it shows they're maybe a bit scared, or at least cautious.
Right. It's apprehension, definitely, not just, friendly distance. Their relationship with authority seems shaped by that fear.
Okay, so the conversation continues between Soma and Hakim Saheb. And Soma's view of poverty, it's not abstract at all, is it?
Not at all. It's incredibly grounded. Her worry is specific. Her mother being the poorest one, it's intensely personal, about survival.
Meanwhile, Hakim Saheb, he's got his own internal stuff going on. He kind of wants to stay, but he's thinking about his job.
His professional duties, and also, what people might say, gossip.
Right, the potential for rumors. It really highlights how their different positions shape what they're immediately worried about.
Precisely. Soma's focused on survival within this system, while Hakim Saheb, even though he feels empathy, has to think about how his actions look within that same system.
So then the scene shifts. We go to Hakim Saheb's place. It feels like a totally different world.
It does. And his conversation with his servant, Halee, adds another layer. Halee's worried about Hakim Saheb's safety, the river, the cobras.
Yeah, it paints a vivid picture of the physical environment they're in.
Right. And Hakim Saheb living in the old landlord's property, it sets him up as an outsider almost. He's observing the local world, the ponds, the birds, the squirrels, but maybe not fully part of it yet.
So this change of scene, it lets us see him not just as the authority figure, but also kind of detached.
Exactly. He appreciates nature, but there's a distance from the daily grind, the struggles of the villagers. It just emphasizes that social divide again, but through the different settings.
His first impressions of the community, they're pretty revealing too. Like noticing the women bathing and working, it shows how unfamiliar he is with these everyday scenes.
It's a reminder, isn't it, that these different realities are happening side by side.
And then that bit with the mustajir, the boat owner, refusing payment because Hakim Saheb has this new job.
Yes, that's significant. It's not just politeness. It's a clear recognition of Hakim Saheb's new status, his potential power and influence.
Right. And around the same time, he gets interested in the local dialect, Surjapuri. He wants to understand it.
Which is interesting. It shows this intellectual curiosity, maybe a desire to connect on their terms. It could be seen as a way he's trying to bridge that gap, even if subtly.
Then he gets to the office, and he makes this pledge, right, to give the best service. Seems genuine.
It does seem genuine. And that intention gets more concrete when he visits the Hat, the marketplace.
The encounter with the poor widow and her children.
Exactly. That interaction seems to really solidify his feelings. He feels pity, compassion, and makes that promise to come back. You see the very first sort of seeds of him wanting to actually do something.
Yeah, it feels like a shift from just observing to wanting to engage.
Precisely. He moves from being a passive observer to potentially an active participant in trying to help. His pledge of service becomes personal after meeting the widow. It's more than just his job description now.
And that compassion leads to direct action pretty quickly, doesn't it? He gives orders about the subsidy accounts for the widow.
Yes, he uses his official position straight away, and he keeps visiting her, which is also when his attraction to Soma starts to grow.
The book describes her appearance, and he asks her name. Small things, but they feel significant.
They are. It shows him getting more involved, both officially helping the mother and personally connecting with Soma. Those lines between professional duty and personal feelings start to blur.
But that connection immediately gets complicated. Soma's reaction when he expresses his feelings.
Tears, right, and she voices her reservations. They're from different worlds, different social standings.
Yeah. Even with the beautiful sunset description, the birds coming back, all Hakim Saheb can think about is Soma and those barriers between them.
It's a powerful moment. It shows how deeply ingrained those social rules are. Soma knows the reality. Even back home, talking to Halee about dinner, Hakim Saheb is lost in thoughts of her.
It highlights the power of those societal norms. They seem like a huge obstacle.
Formidable, yes. Despite his failings, the perceived impossibility of it, because of their different places in society, weighs heavily.
So the next morning by the river starts peacefully, but you can tell Hakim Saheb is wrestling with something internally.
Yes, there's an inner turmoil. Even his worry about disturbing that bird, the Surkha, shows a certain sensitivity.
But then Soma and Budia show up unexpectedly, and Soma completely misreads his silence.
Thinks he's angry, right? It leads to this sudden, sharp clash between them.
Totally. It shows how fragile that connection is, how easily misinterpretations can happen, especially with the weight of, expectations and maybe fear.
Her immediate assumption that he's angry reflects those power dynamics again. People in authority are often viewed with, apprehension.
And the argument escalates, ending with Soma's comment about public condemnation. It brings all those societal pressures crashing back in.
Right. He tries to call her back, but she resists. Her concern about what people will think, the social cost of stepping outside the lines, it's paramount for her, maybe more so than he initially understands from his position.
He seems genuinely surprised by how strongly she reacts.
It underscores how much those community norms dictate behavior, especially for someone in Soma's vulnerable position.
Okay, so he goes home after that tense encounter, and his focus seems to shift, doesn't it? It broadens out.
Yes, it does. He starts thinking less about just his personal feelings for Soma and more about the bigger picture, the systemic issues.
He applies for leave, wants permission to leave headquarters. That feels like a big step.
It is. He's reflecting on the need for schools, the exploitation by moneylenders, the status of women, and he identifies illiteracy as the root cause.
It feels like his personal experience, maybe that difficult interaction with Soma, sparks something bigger in him.
I think that's a very strong possibility. It seems to have catalyzed a deeper awareness of the wider social injustices. He's moving beyond just feeling pity to actually analyzing the root problems. Education becomes the key in his mind.
And he's grateful for being sent there, sees it as an opportunity to serve.
Yes, not a punishment or a remote posting, but a real chance to make a difference. And he's not just thinking about it, he's making plans.
He's even willing to resign if he has to. That's a serious level of commitment.
It really shows how much he's changing, from an observer to a dedicated agent of change, ready to potentially sacrifice his career. It's driven by a strong moral sense.
And then, just as he's getting ready to act on this local plan, something totally unexpected happens.
Yes, the trip to Bombay.
He gets off the train and is suddenly greeted like a VIP by Mr. Jetley and colleagues. Garlanded, congratulated.
On becoming the General Secretary of the Central Unit of the Officers' Confederation.
And he had no idea. He was so focused on the village, he missed the whole split in the organization.
It's quite a twist, isn't it? Pulls him from his very local focus onto this national stage. It highlights how immersed he was and sets up a potential conflict, right, between his village plans and these new duties.
His acceptance speech is humble, but he commits to serving. And there's this emergency meeting, decisions are made. You have to wonder how this new role will affect his plans back in the village.
Exactly. Will he use this new influence to help the village? Or will national politics pull him away? It raises questions about how change happens at different levels.
But when he gets back to the village, he doesn't seem to hesitate at all.
No, he dives right back in, calls a village meeting immediately.
Proposes the teaching center, asks the richer villagers for donations first. The plan is still land, a thatched shelter. He's clearly still focused on his local mission.
It shows incredible dedication to that original vision. His belief in grassroots education as the catalyst seems unwavering, despite the national promotion.
And when they talk practicalities land, building the shelter, his response is just, yes, do it.
Right. And he's already thinking about the potential fallout for his job, the risk of termination.
But he's determined. He believes serving these distressed people is like serving God. That story about the old lady who'd never seen a train. Wow.
It really underscores the isolation he's fighting against, doesn't it? And reinforces his deep moral conviction. This isn't just a job for him. It's a calling.
Halee is there to meet him when he gets back, of course.
Always loyal, Halee.
But Hakim Saheb surprises him. He doesn't just ask how he is. He insists Halee himself should learn to read.
And tells him about the school plan. Halee's disbelief is palpable.
Yeah, you can almost feel Halee thinking, us, learn to read.
It really shows how ingrained that lack of expectation was. Then his colleagues arrive, Mr. Das and Mr. Ahmed. They've heard about his work, even from far away.
So word is spreading about his commitment.
It seems so. And Hakim Saheb explains his motivation very clearly to them, empowering the downtrodden through literacy. You can feel his conviction.
Later, at the market, there's a crowd around him, eager for news about the school. The momentum is building.
That growing enthusiasm is key. It shows his vision is resonating. People are starting to hope to see the potential education offers.
Then he goes to see Soma's mother again, tells her about the school, her reaction.
After first, disbelief, which is understandable given their life.
And then her shock when he tells her about men landing on the moon. He just highlights that massive gap in knowledge and connection to the wider world.
It's a stark illustration of the isolation. Overcoming that lack of awareness, that limited horizon, is going to be a major challenge for his education project.
He keeps trying to explain the benefits of literacy to her, connecting knowing things to having a better life.
But Soma brings it back to earth. She's practical. What about slates, chalk, books, food? Poverty is the immediate barrier.
Her perspective is so important. He's thinking long-term benefits. She's thinking about how they'll even manage to participate today.
It highlights the need for a more holistic approach, doesn't it? You can't just offer education without addressing the basic survival needs that might prevent people from accessing it.
He tries to convince her about the long-term value, and she agrees eventually. But you feel her skepticism, born from experience.
Right. She even asks that basic question, what will you teach? And his answer, alphabets first, shows just how fundamental this starting point is.
But then Soma does something pretty amazing. She goes door to door.
Yes. She starts gathering people herself to hear Hakim Saheb talk. That shows her own agency growing, doesn't it? Believing in the idea enough to act.
And the crowd gathers by the river. They're eager, but also, the text says, still a bit fearful of Hakim Saheb.
That mix of hope and apprehension again. Hope for change, but still wary of authority. It's complex.
He addresses them, sitting on a simple stool among them, a gesture of humility.
But then we see Kirpa there looking unhappy, foreshadowing trouble.
Yeah, you know he's going to be an obstacle.
It immediately sets up the conflict. This progressive idea is going to clash with those who benefit from the way things are.
So while many people in the crowd are supportive, Kirpa speaks up. He talks about the costs, the logistics.
Raising practical objections, trying to sow doubt. Hakim Saheb tries to reassure him, but you sense it's not over.
Then that shout goes up, Hakim Saheb Jindabad. Long live Hakim Saheb. A real moment of hope.
It shows he is reaching people, that there's genuine enthusiasm. But Kirpa dissent highlights the opposing forces.
Despite that opposition, the community gets involved in the actual work, cutting bamboo, building the fence for the school.
That hands-on involvement is crucial. It shows they're invested. But the headman, he's still worried about the resistance.
Right. Hakim Saheb dismisses it as just reactionary forces wanting to keep their power.
But then someone directly accuses Hakim Saheb of causing trouble, of sowing discord.
And the headman jumps to his defense. Things are getting polarized.
Definitely. And then the threat against the headman, vote him out if he keeps supporting the school. And his refusal to back down.
It shows the stakes are getting higher, people are having to choose sides.
And the headman's courage in standing firm really emphasizes how significant the school project has become.
There's also that discussion with the field officer. He agrees education is important.
But raises the issue of educated unemployment, the economic reality, which is a valid point.
And Hakim Saheb counters by talking about critical thinking, decision-making, the broader benefits beyond just getting a job.
It's a good point. Education isn't just vocational training. It's about developing agency, resilience, the ability to navigate challenges, even economic ones.
They agree on the minutes of that meeting. But then, Hakim Saheb's morning walk. He sees something disturbing.
The moneylenders. Gathering, organizing.
Yeah. The opposition isn't just grumbling anymore. It's becoming active, public.
They see the threat clearly now. An educated community is less likely to be exploited by them. Their economic interests are directly challenged.
And their arguments at that assembly are quite something. They're painting themselves as the helpers of the poor.
Right, saying stopping their lending would cause hardship, that they're more accessible than banks.
While painting Hakim Saheb as this outsider, a troublemaker, preaching revolution.
Saying education won't feed hungry people and that he just wants to rule over them. It's pure propaganda, playing on fear and immediate needs.
But then Halee speaks up. Unexpected courage.
Yes, defending Hakim Saheb, saying he's doing good for society. The moneylenders are furious, threaten him.
But Halee stands his ground. He says the idea of the school can't be kicked out of people's minds now. That's powerful.
It really is. It shows Hakim Saheb's message is taking root, inspiring even the most vulnerable to find their voice. And another villager supports Halee,
challenging the moneylenders directly.
The accusation that Hakim Saheb teaches mutiny shows just how scared the moneylenders are of losing control.
But the support for Halee is growing in the crowd. The tide might be turning.
So the moneylenders try to shut it down, turn off the loudspeaker, but it's too late. The hot words were already heard.
And the meeting ends in chaos. A stampede. The moneylenders are angry, but also afraid.
That fear is significant. It shows their authority is weakening. The community isn't just passively accepting their narrative anymore.
Hakim Saheb hears the noise, realizes Halee is involved, and rushes over. Initially, he thinks it's sabotage.
Right, his first instinct is maybe to maintain order.
But Halee and Mullo are still going, until Hakim Saheb directly tells Halee to stop. Halee passionately explains how the moneylenders are condemning Hakim Saheb fighting the school.
Mullo backs him up, talks about the years of exploitation, and Hakim Saheb is just speechless, moved. He gently leads Halee away.
It reveals that raw anger and desire for justice bubbling up in the community, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's not just about literacy anymore. It's about challenging decades of oppression.
Back in his place, Hakim Saheb tries to calm things down. Ask Halee for coffee. But then the moneylenders arrive.
Deval, Seth, and Javed Miyan. They're there to complain formally about Halee's misbehavior.
And threaten to file a case against Halee and Mullo.
Using the legal system to intimidate, to maintain their power.
But Hakim Saheb doesn't back down. He defends Halee strongly, says Halee isn't alone, that he brought Halee back.
He makes it personal. He says harming Halee is like harming him.
Exactly. Javed Miyan just can't believe it, calls their actions audacious defiance.
Hakim Saheb's unwavering support is crucial here. He's aligning himself with those speaking truth to power, challenging the whole structure.
He reminds Javed, Seth, their meeting was public. People have a right to ask questions.
Right, and Javed just doesn't get it. Why would an officer side with these penniless fellows?
And Hakim Saheb's reply is just perfect. An officer should be a well-wisher of the poor.
Boom! That cuts right to the heart of it, challenging the very foundation of their privilege and the expected role of authority.
The Seths leave after tea. And Hakim Saheb is left thinking, reflecting deeply. He remembers T.S. Eliot's poem.
The Hollow Men, yes. Themes of emptiness, meaninglessness, moral decay.
It seems to resonate with what he's seeing in some parts of society, maybe the powerful who lack purpose or empathy.
I think so. The poem speaks to that sense of spiritual void, the paralysis he might feel is gripping the community, or at least those resisting change.
But then, amidst that feeling of hollowness, he finds hope.
In Halee and Mullo, their expressiveness, their courage, it's a contrast to the emptiness.
He looks at the Mohananda River, imagines it boiling with potential, and he smiles. There's a stirring of something new.
That contrast is key. The hollow men versus the vibrant, emerging spirit of resistance and hope in people like Halee and Mullo. It suggests change is possible.
The next morning, though, brings another challenge. During his walk, he sees the Seths arriving by boat again.
And this time, they're with someone important, Mr. Irshad Azad, the M.L.A.
The local politician, and Javed Miyan is there too. Their arrival seems very deliberate, confrontational.
Azad Saheb gets straight to it, questioning Hakim Saheb aggressively. Why do the prestigious Seths condemn him, demanding answers?
It definitely ups the pressure. Now politics is directly involved.
It shows how local power works, economic interests, political influence, all intertwined. Hakim Saheb's actions are clearly ruffling feathers at higher levels now.
Azad keeps grilling him, dismisses the poor villagers entirely. Asked about Hakim Saheb's background, implies he's got some hidden agenda, maybe outside backing.
Trying to discredit him. And then the village constable shows up, and the questioning takes a weird turn towards foreign liquor.
Yeah, totally unexpected. Azad gets angry hearing the report about local Thara instead. What's that about?
It suggests Azad has his own interests, maybe illicit ones, that might be tangled up with the Seth's affairs or threatened by any kind of scrutiny in the village. It's not just about the school.
Then Azad pulls Javed Miyan aside for a private chat. He's impatient, asking about her.
This is disturbing. Javed explains he's arranging for a Hindu girl, the difficulty bargaining with the mother, using the M.L.A.'s power as leverage.
For 25 rupees and some rice, it's sickening.
Utterly. Azad is pleased. Meanwhile, Devlal Seth is still worried about the school construction.
And Azad just brushes him off, says it'll be demolished later anyway, no real change will happen. It reveals such deep corruption and cynicism.
It's a horrifying glimpse into the abuse of power and exploitation happening behind the scenes, a stark contrast to Hakim Saheb's genuine efforts.
Azad's thoughts then turn to the sweet and charming poor girl, his anticipation. It just shows his complete moral bankruptcy.
Dehumanizing and predatory. It underscores the urgency of the change Hakim Saheb is trying to bring.
But while all this darkness is happening back in the village, the headman is full of joy, preparing for the school opening.
Right. Undeterred by the Seths, the landowner is still supporting them, and then Mullo arrives.
With a crowd. People from other villages, too, all supporting the school, telling Hakim Saheb not to be afraid.
Mullo wants his name first in the register, and women want to join too. It's an amazing show of solidarity.
The headman is moved to tears, praises Hakim Saheb, announces the school will open, even without the Seth support. The community is really coming together.
That wider support is crucial. It shows the desire for education is spreading. The headman's emotion, the collective resolve, it's powerful.
The headman humbly asks for Hakim Saheb's guidance, and they all head to his residence. Halee is surprised by the crowd.
The headman explains the shelter is ready, they'll manage supplies, asks Hakim Saheb to meet the people.
Hakim Saheb agrees school starts tomorrow. And then he makes that symbolic decision about the inauguration.
To have it done by the poorest among them. A powerful statement.
Mullo is curious about the ceremony. Hakim Saheb gives simple instructions, hang garlands, cut a rope. Mullo bursts out with slogans. The excitement is building.
His decision reinforces his commitment to the marginalized, the community's enthusiasm, taking ownership. It's all building towards this moment.
The school looks ready, decorated under the mango tree. Mullo and Halee are happy, the headman's busy, flowers, garlands.
But Hakim Saheb isn't there yet. Anxiety starts to creep in for Mullo Halee, the headman.
Then he arrives. With people from other villages, an old lady, young girls. The headman tells him everyone was anxious. Halee hasn't even made food. But all preparations are done.
The tension builds nicely. His arrival with diverse community members again emphasizes the inclusivity of the project.
Hakim Saheb explains he was in Thakurganj, buying slates and chalk.
The tools of learning. He immediately wants to start the inauguration, won't even eat first. Education is the priority.
The slates arrive, everyone's excited. Mullo and Halee are curious. Whispers of slates go through the crowd.
Mukiaji asks how to do the ceremony. Simple instructions again. Hang the garlands, cut the rope, but watching nervously.
Devlal Seth and Javed Miyan. They still haven't given up.
The slates are such a potent symbol of empowerment. The Seth's apprehension shows they understand the significance.
They make one last plea to Hakim Saheb stop the school for the sake of peace.
But Mukiaji stands firm. This is good work.
Kirpa pipes up with a sarcastic comment about the election. A threat.
Mukiaji's response is simple. Serving the public's need is more important than elections.
Hakim Saheb tries to calm Mullo and Mukiaji. Tells them to wait, let the truth come out. Mukiaji apologizes for any bad thoughts from villagers, wants to proceed. Their determination is clear.
Despite the ongoing opposition, the community's resolve, led by Mukiaji and inspired by Hakim Saheb, is unwavering. They're ready.
Hakim Saheb points out the eager people from other villages who value this chance. The rope is hung, garlands are in place.
He gently asks the old lady Soma's mother to come forward, guides her.
She cuts the rope. Applause. And Hakim Saheb announces a prayer. an unusual one, asking God to fix the world injustices, to be sung daily.
And the inaugurator was Soma's mother. Soma is so proud. More people gather, the landowners there, joy all around.
That moment, Soma's mother, the prayer for justice, it's incredibly symbolic.
Absolutely. Empowering the most marginalized to launch this new beginning. It sets the tone for everything that follows.
Mukiaji distributes slates and chalk. Hakim Saheb starts the admission register. First name, Soma Kumari.
A fitting choice.
The first lesson begins. Alphabets on the blackboard. It's short because people are hungry. He tells them to come daily, bring supplies, encourages saving for materials.
Practical advice alongside the inspiration.
He gives a short talk their condition, why literacy matters, says nothing is impossible with education, seek truth, beware exploitation. Thanks to landowner and Mukiaji. That first day feels huge.
It's the embodiment of hope. The simple act of learning the alphabet becomes a revolutionary act in this context. It's the start of real transformation.
Hakim Saheb changes his morning routine, now includes visiting the school.
Students are making progress, especially the older ones, losing their shyness.
Mullo reports that the Seth servants want to join, despite threats from their masters. They're in a mood to revolt.
That's significant. The desire for education is overcoming fear, even among the most dependent. Soma is learning quickly, too.
Hakim Saheb is patient, waiting for everyone to master the alphabet before giving out books, starting sums. Soma loves learning.
You see the positive changes taking hold. But the resistance hasn't vanished, it's just simmering.
Soma asks him about his long morning walk. His answer combines action and faith act, but remember God for safety.
And he makes that point again. Prayer alone didn't start the school, action did.
Then two servants arrive from different Seths, asking to be admitted.
Defying their masters, saying God will provide if they get fired.
It really hammers home that theme of agency, doesn't it? People deciding to take their own path.
Definitely. They're choosing education and empowerment over fear and subservience. It's a powerful statement of their growing determination.
Hakim Saheb encourages them, tells them to ask for leave first, but to come anyway.
He handles the official memo about the school, sends it to the union, but his colleagues...
They refuse to help, to give any time to the school. He's surprised, not angry, but surprised by their limitations.
The inertia of the system, he feels suffocated, thinks about resigning again.
But decides against it, not out of cowardice. He'll wait, see what management does. But he won't give up the literacy program. His commitment is absolute.
That internal struggle, the willingness to sacrifice his career, it really highlights his integrity and dedication to the community's needs above his own.
And then we get those poems he wrote. The Helpless Man and We Are the Puppets.
Ah, yes. They capture that feeling of powerlessness being controlled by society, but also maybe a hint that things can change.
They seem to articulate the very core of the struggle he's witnessing and maybe participating in.
They offered a deep insight into his understanding of their initial condition, that sense of being manipulated. The metaphor is so potent, but writing them is itself an act of trying to understand and perhaps transcend that condition.
Then the story shifts again, quite abruptly, to that other narrative. The orphan adopted by the landlord.
Right. Privileged upbringing, Darjeeling education, father's death, mother's fake illness. It seems unrelated at first.
It creates intrigue, definitely. You wonder how it connects.
It's laying the groundwork, providing crucial backstory that explains Hakim Saheb's deep empathy later on. It seems tangential, but it's essential context.
We see the adopted son's uncomfortable encounter with the CS Saheb, the patronizing behavior toward his mother. He feels angry, but powerless.
That sense of powerlessness in the face of subtle or not so subtle assertions of power and status, it hints at injustices that might shape his worldview.
He's left waiting, uneasy. After the Saheb takes his mother aside, there's a mystery there.
Building suspense, suggesting unresolved issues from the past.
And then the narrative jumps forward drastically. The son confronts the CS Saheb about his mother, rejects the Saheb's advances, then flash forward to his marriage.
To a woman who reveals she's impotent, which strangely relieves him. They decide to adopt.
But she's tormented by guilt over a past encounter with the civil surgeon. It drives her to suicide, leaving a note.
And the devastated husband is revealed to be Hakim Saheb. He becomes devoted to his adoptive mother's memory, visits the orphanage regularly.
So that's the connection. His own background as an adopted orphan explains everything. His compassion, his drive to help the vulnerable.
Exactly. It's the key to his unique perspective, his profound empathy, his own complex experience of family, loss, and perhaps social ambiguity fuels his mission.
His interest in the orphans grows. He finds joy caring for them, distributing treats.
But then that question from the teenage orphan, who am I? Why was I orphaned? It hits him hard.
And the late-night visit, seeing the baby without milk, his anger at the caretaker. It's personal.
His own history makes him fiercely protective, deeply angered by their neglect. The injustice cuts deep because he understands their vulnerability firsthand.
He can't sleep. The next morning, he makes a huge decision.
To donate his entire property to the orphanage. Drafting the testament brings him peace. And then, after some months, he's gone from town.
A final act of incredible generosity. The culmination of his personal journey.
It's the ultimate expression of his values, dedicating everything to those whose struggles mirror his own past, a profound act of selfless giving.
Then we snap back to the school timeline. Hakim Saheb checks the clock. He plans to write a novel about his adoptive mother.
Bringing his personal history and the themes of loss and resilience right back into the present narrative.
And we see the impact of his work again in that confrontation between Soma and Kirpa.
Kirpa questions her knowledge, her interactions with Hakim Saheb, but Soma is defiant.
She even mentions Laxmi Bai, someone she learned about from Hakim Saheb. Kirpa is furious.
It shows the direct effect of education empowering Soma to think for herself, to challenge him.
Kirpa summons the umpires to punish Soma. Her mother arrives, distressed, pleading for forgiveness, citing their low status.
Highlighting those rigid social structures again, the vulnerability of the poor facing the powerful.
The umpires hear only Kirpa's side, condemn Soma. One makes that horrific comment about why she wasn't killed as a child.
Just brutal. It shows the harshness, the lack of empathy within that traditional power structure.
Soma's mother asks about the option. Kirpa demands a caste feast, offering to lend her the money at interest. Pure manipulation.
Exploiting their poverty to further indebt them. The others approve, pressure her. It's sickening.
Soma's mother laments her poverty internally. The umpires leave. Kirpa returns with a plan.
Feigning help, reminding her of her servitude. Then whispers that threat. Shalkuniya Jawa, something bad will happen.
Maintaining suspense, foreshadowing more conflict.
Exactly. The threat hangs in the air.
Then we find Hakim Saheb again. He's reviewing his mother's manuscript, planning his own writing. He's also just won his case against management, thanks to the union.
Vindicated. Halee offers coffee. Then the district education officer, Nayar, and the Times of India reporter Malhotra arrive.
They're there to investigate the school, report on it. Hakim Saheb is calm, invites them to rest first. External validation is arriving.
It's a major step. His resilience paid off, and now his work is getting official attention.
They visit the school. Nayar and Malhotra are surprised by the mix of students all ages, men and women. Malhotra takes photos.
Nayar gets interested in a local plant, but then reacts judgmentally to the women bathing in the river. A clash of perspectives.
Malhotra is interested in folk songs. Hakim Saheb explains their meaning. Malhotra is enthusiastic. Nayar's still focused on the plant's medicinal properties.
It highlights that potential disconnect between outside views and local life, but also the power of culture and tradition that Malhotra recognizes.
Hakim Saheb introduces them to Devlal Seth. Devlal seems welcoming, surprised. Javed Miyan is suspicious.
Javed immediately thinks it's about their tobacco case, shows their continued mistrust and self-interest.
Back at the school, Nayar talks to the landlord, and the landlord agrees to give the land to the government so the school can become official.
A huge breakthrough. Malhotra keeps taking photos, drafting his story. Halee brings tea. The school's future looks much more secure.
Now, the feast scene at Kirpa, the respected citizens, the umpires are there, but they suddenly seem like villains facing Kirpa.
Hakim Saheb arrives, sarcastically accepts the banquet supposedly from Soma's mother. He directly accuses Kirpa of conspiracy, threatens police action.
Mukhiaji appeals to Kirpa's conscience as caste leader. Mullo and Halee are furious, want justice, but Hakim Saheb keeps them quiet for now.
He directly asks Kirpa, why did you blame Soma? Halee comforts Soma, who's weeping.
Mukhiaji pleads with Soma's mother. Tell the truth. The tension is immense, the sound of boiling oil.
And she breaks, tearfully confesses Kirpa paid for everything, then demanded she surrender Soma to him for a night, exposes his repeated exploitation. The truth is out.
A devastating moment of revelation, exposing the corruption right to its core.
The cooks react instantly, angrily. One kicks over the rice pot.
The prestigious citizens, the umpires, they're disgusted now. Panchupai, Jamnapai apologize to Hakim Saheb, denounce Kirpa.
They demand the banquet stop, the earnings of sin be thrown away. The cooks do it.
Mullo demands Kirpa leave, shouts slogans again. Halee joins in. Hakim Saheb, Mukiaji try to stop them. Halee throws the hubble bubble away.
The mood is aggressive. Hakim Saheb and Mukiaji have to protect Kirpa from the crowd's anger. It's a complete reversal, a surge of community power.
The community's reaction is immediate, forceful. They're not passive anymore.
Hakim Saheb tries to calm everyone, says Kirpa has faced the consequences. Kirpa is terrified, trembling.
Hakim Saheb tells him, beg pardon from Soma and her mother. Mullo and Halee insist, do it properly.
Kirpa mumbles. Halee yells louder. The crowd laughs.
And Soma's response, powerful. She refuses to forgive, tells him, go and sleep with your daughter, turns his own evil back on him.
Wow. Kirpa pleads, then retreats. Mukiaji orders the cleanup. It's over. Hakim Saheb reminds them, school tomorrow.
What a shift in power. The community has found its voice. Soma found hers.
Halee comes back from town with the Times of India, headline, Miracle of Hakim Saheb, photo of him and the students.
Hakim Saheb returns with cameramen, equipment. Halee is excited. Hakim Saheb shows in the paper his photo, pure joy.
And Hakim Saheb announces the school's official recognition, new teachers arriving. The future looks bright.
Wider recognition, tangible progress for the school.
Hakim Saheb, Mullo, Mukiaji discuss future plans. Hakim Saheb wants a cultural program filmed.
Mukiaji is enthusiastic, helps prepare a stage. Hakim Saheb wants an open stage. No curtains, Petromex lights, hanging mic. New concept excites Mukiaji.
Mullo offers to sing, mentions Soma sings well too. Hakim Saheb asks about dancing. Mullo says women dance at weddings.
So Hakim Saheb plans a tiny drama with everyone participating, embracing culture as part of empowerment.
It shows his thoughtful approach, preserving tradition but also innovating, engaging the whole community through art.
Ali brings coffee and starts singing that folk song. Obandu, Kianjakis, Airbond, Oh friend, where you going? Unaware, Hakim Saheb is leaving.
Hakim Saheb's reaction is serious. He thinks about leaving, pictures the farewell, Halee and Mullo weeping. Halee repeats the song, eyes fearful.
Halee notices Hakim Saheb isn't drinking, sees his tears. Hakim Saheb tries to hide it, agrees Halee's song will be the last item. Halee is silent. Hakim Saheb tells him to arrange the stage construction.
That song is heartbreaking in context. It builds the emotional tension towards his departure, highlighting the deep bonds formed.
Halee goes off to find Mukiaji. Hakim Saheb shows the stage model to the cameraman, explaining how it will work, how he wants to capture the folk arts naturally.
Wants to give the rural mass something new related to the stage.
His innovative, respectful approach to documenting their culture is really clear.
Hakim Saheb sends invitations to the moneylenders too, trying to include everyone in the cultural program. Mukiaji announces it with drumming. Stage prep happens secretly based on the model.
Halee and Mullo are excited. Others are surprised about the drama. The night arrives dark, seating separated, audience curious, film songs playing.
Setting the scene for a big event with those underlying tensions still present.
Stage lights up. Hakim Saheb addresses the crowd, speaks about the importance of folk songs, their culture, their genuine feelings, asks them to take it seriously, like great literature depicting their lives, encourages traditional arts like wall painting.
Elevating their own culture, giving it value and significance.
He steps away. Generator starts. Stage lights up again. Actors show a moneylender threatening a laborer. A young boy interrupts, urges the poor to stand up, fight exploitation, leads slogans, Inquilab Jindabad. Stage darkens, slogans from offstage.
Wow. Powerful social commentary woven right into the performance. A direct message of empowerment and resistance.
Then more songs, dances. Finally, Halee sings, Fire Oso Jebondu. Hakim Saheb wipes his eyes again and again.
The stage lights up. Hakim Saheb is there, simply dressed. He speaks of equality, lack of prejudice, announces the school is recognized up to 8th class, 2 new teachers coming.
And then the bombshell. He's resigned. His work is finished. He'll leave soon. Asks pardon, pleads with them to keep sending children to school. Thanks Mukiaji, the landlord, everyone. Joins his palms. Stage goes dark. Silence. Heavy silence.
The emotional peak. His departure, announced with such humility after securing the school's future. It's profound.
The audience leaves. Heavy hearts. But Javed Miyan stays frozen. Devlal Seth urges him to leave.
Javed regrets not helping Hakim Saheb. He's crying. Devlal feels it too, but was afraid of Javed's reaction.
Javed is overcome. decides he must see Hakim Saheb beg pardon. Even the opposition is transformed by his actions.
It shows the deep impact of his integrity and sacrifice. It changed hearts, not just circumstances.
Mukiaji comes to Hakim Saheb, tells him Soma loves him deeply, is distraught about him leaving, even threatens suicide.
Hakim Saheb gently explains his own orphan past, his connection to the poor, then reveals he loves Soma too, can't bear to leave her.
The departure day. The boat center is full of tears. Hakim Saheb arrives with Soma on a bullock cart. Mukherjee, Devlal, Javed follow.
Enthusiastic farewell, slogans, garlands, flowers. Soma touches Mukherjee's and Javed's feet. Reconciliation.
Hakim Saheb greets everyone gratefully, says he taught them to protest injustice, believes they can choose their own path now. Emotional embrace with a weeping Halee, tender embrace with Soma.
They step onto the boat. He remembers Halee's song, wipes his tears.
The boat disappears. Halee and Mullo keep watching. Javed Miyan throws Azad's hubble-bubble into the river. Mukherjee smiles sadly. Hakim Saheb and Soma leave together.
A conclusion filled with both sadness and hope. A personal union for Hakim Saheb and Soma, and the enduring legacy of change he leaves behind in the community.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the puppets, we've really followed Hakim Saheb's incredible path. His impact through education, empowerment.
The resistance he faced, how he navigated it, and that final, very personal connection with Soma.
And that puppets theme really comes through, doesn't it? The novel's title, his poems. They capture that initial feeling of powerlessness.
Absolutely, like being controlled by those societal strings. But Hakim Saheb's actions, well, they helped people start cutting those strings, finding their own agency.
For you, our listener, we hope digging into the puppets this way hit the mark, giving you those insights quickly but deeply, maybe some aha moments about social structures, individual potential.
And how change can actually happen, even against tough odds.
Which leads us to a final thought, something for you to maybe ponder. What subtle, or maybe not so subtle, strings might be influencing your own life or the world you see?
Yeah. And what potential is there for individual action, your own actions, to maybe untangle a few threads to create some positive change? It's definitely something powerful to think about.